Welcome back. Well, the price increase of the Pertamax fuel variant has pushed people to switch to the cheaper Pertalite fuel variant instead, which is nearly 2 times cheaper than Pertamax. This widespread shift towards cheaper Pertalite fuel is causing long lines at petrol stations across Indonesia. In the Pandeglang Regency, long lines formed at petrol stations of motorists waiting to buy the cheaper Pertalite fuel variant. Long lines such as this has been occurring ever since the price of Pertamax fuel variant was increased by nearly 40% from 9,000 rupiah. Now it's up to around 12,500 rupiah per liter. As a result, many motorists who had previously used Pertamax are now switching over to the cheaper Pertalite fuel variant instead. Of course, this is a cause for concern, as in the month of March, Indonesia recorded monthly inflation of 0.66%, which is the highest in 3 years, or the highest since March 2019. Annual inflation in Indonesia at 2.64%, the highest since April 2020, the highest in 2 years. Indeed, the Indonesian Central Bureau of Statistics stated that high inflation in March was mostly due to price increase in red chili, fuel for households, gold, jewelry, and also increases in cooking oil prices. Meanwhile, fuel prices, such as the price of Pertamax, has increased sharply after the rise of Indonesian crude oil price index as well. Indeed, crude oil prices are back up again, marking a recent continuous trend. Brent crude prices was up today to $108 per barrel. U.S. oil up to $103. This comes as the EU is planning to impose new sanctions against Russia. Well, the surge in commodity prices due to geopolitical tensions over Russia's invasion of Ukraine has worsened or made it difficult for the global economic recovery, as it is pushing up prices for energy and food commodities. Thus, pressure from the inflation also occurred in various countries, especially Europe and US. Many economists predict the global inflation rate this year could potentially soar. How will all this impact on inflation in Indonesia, which is also surging as well? We're going to discuss this with Chief Economist of Permata Bank, Josua Pardede. Hello. Thank you so much for joining us again on Jakarta Movers and Shakers.
Thanks for having me, Krishna.
All right, so as we saw just now, crude oil prices are still high around the world. Indonesia's crude price index also up. Fuel prices up in Indonesia. This is sort of an offset, an impact of Russia's invasion of Ukraine. But just tell us about how Russia's invasion of Ukraine will impact inflation in Indonesia in other ways as well.
Yeah, as you already mentioned earlier, that the geopolitical tension, heightened geopolitical tension between Russia and Ukraine has led to the higher commodity prices, both in energy and also food prices. Because in fact, Russia is not only the biggest producers of natural gas and oil and other energy commodities, but also we can see that Russia is one of the biggest producers for some food products. Yeah, for example, like wheat, and also for Ukraine is one of the biggest producers of maize and also wheat. So basically, as we can see already, that in the last couple months, because of the rising commodity prices, including also CPO prices, we are experiencing that the cooking oil prices still relatively high, yeah, compared to previous periods. In addition to that, also we can see that the because of the higher food commodities like maize and also wheat, yeah, this will also impact for the input cost for F&B industry, for the FMCG, because of the higher raw materials, yeah, from those products, yeah, because F&B industry related to the noodle and also related to the noodle bread, yeah, this will also will get higher burden because of the higher input cost. In addition to that, also related to the energy prices, as we already experienced that government or Pertamina just raised the Pertamax or run Pertamax, yeah, to be higher around 40%. Yeah, we expect that the inflation coming from Pertamax increase will be additional around 0.2 percent point to 0.3 percent point to the full year inflation this year. Yeah, and then for the April inflation itself, we still expect that the coupled with the impact of increase in VAT tariff, the higher food prices heading to the Ramadan and also Idul Fitri, we are seeing that the inflation, monthly inflation, could be higher, yeah, nearly around 1%. So basically, for the yearly inflation in April, could be higher than 3% or breaching 3% for the first time in the last 22 months, yeah, since the beginning of the pandemic. So I think that's the inflationary pressure that we are seeing currently, taking into account the impact of Russia and Ukraine geopolitical tension.
All right, Russia's invasion of Ukraine, as we know, is pushing oil prices up. As you mentioned just now, Pertamax fuel variant in Indonesia is up by nearly 40%. I want to ask you about the cheaper pertalite fuel variant as well. It's about twice cheaper. It's 7,650 per liter. Pertamax is 12,500. Do you think they could increase the price of pertalite fuel as well, and how will that impact inflation in Indonesia?
Yeah, before that, because we will have to update you about the simulation, yeah, of economic price of Pertamax. Yeah, actually, in our economic model, taking into account or consider that the Brent price oil globally is around $100 per barrel, and taking into account that the dollar rupiah exchange rate at 14,350, actually the economic price is nearly around 12,700. Yeah, so basically very nearly with the current fuel price from Pertamax. Yeah, and also for Pertalite itself, using the same assumption, actually the economic price of Pertalite, it should be around 12,000. Yeah, so basically there will be higher burden covered by the Pertamina, and also the government also, the energy subsidy will increase, yeah, at least around more than 100 trillion rupiah for the Pertalite itself. Yeah, so basically there's still a chance, yeah, because as you mentioned or reported before, that when there is a big disparity between Pertalite and also Pertamax, there is a possibility that some also people to use Pertalite or subsidized fuel. Yeah, so that's why the quota for subsidized fuel for Pertalite will be increasing, and that's why, yeah, for some reason we are seeing now that some scarcity, yeah, for Pertalite in some regions in Indonesia. So I think when the geopolitical tension between Russia and Ukraine, if we assume will prolong, I think there's a chance that government also already gave some signal a couple days ago to raise Pertalite following the Pertamax whenever the global oil prices still continue to increase above $100 per barrel. But however, we think that the government currently still maintain the Pertalite price because I think the government consider the recovery in consumption particularly for low to middle income people. Currently, they are still struggling. After the pandemic, they are struggling to find jobs to earn money because of the pandemic. So because the increase in Pertalite, I think this will be more significant impact to Indonesia inflation and also Indonesia GDP because when the government increase Pertalite, let's say 10% the increase, the year-end inflation this year could be beyond 4%. So that's why I think that's already beyond the assumptions from or the target inflation from BI at around 3 plus minus 1%. So I think that will be a negative impact to Indonesia if the government increase Pertalite this year.
Right. So as you mentioned just now, there is a chance that Pertalite fuel price could be increased. Just to sum it up, if Pertalite fuel prices increase, inflation could reach 4% by the end of the year, or could Indonesia see even higher inflation similar to the US if Pertalite is increased?
I think different from US, because US currently already experienced the demand side inflationary pressure because of the pent-up demand, because of also US economy started to recover faster than emerging countries, including Indonesia. So that's why the inflationary pressure in US currently already reaching 7.9%. And in March also is expected to be higher. So that's why different from Indonesia condition, the government, as I mentioned, because fuel price gasoline is one of the administered prices commodities, and then because of in order to maintain the purchasing power for the low middle income people, government decided to maintain for the Pertalite fuel price. But again, there is a chance later on if the global oil prices increases still beyond $100 per barrel, there is a higher probability that Pertalite also will be increased as well.
Right. I want to go back to the issue of food prices as well. As we know, Ukraine is a big exporter of wheat. Indonesia buys a lot of Ukrainian wheat. Previously, Indonesian officials say we still have enough, wheat supplies for the next few months. But how about in April? Do you think that Russia's invasion of Ukraine is going to impact wheat-related products, the prices of it in Indonesia? How will that contribute to inflation in Indonesia, particularly in April and May as well?
Actually, in fact, if we look at the listed companies for FMCG, related to the bread or noodles companies, actually their operating margin in the third quarter last year and also including fourth quarter last year already rose significantly because of the higher input cost, for the F&B company itself. And going forward, I think for this year, association in F&B industry also give some signal, whenever the wheat prices and also maize prices already increases significantly because there is a bigger impact, because maize is a commodity price for the poultry, and then poultry will also impact for the other F&B sectors. So basically, we are seeing that the higher input costs, and we are already saw that the producer price index, already as per March already breached 3.5%, and also the producer price index, the wholesale price index in March already increased by 30.5%, and producer price index also in fourth quarter year already broke 7% year-on-year. So actually still higher compared to consumer prices. So that's why I think the the imported inflationary risk should be higher, yeah, even after the condition in Ukraine and Russia, knowing that the EU still imposed to give some sanction against Russia. This will worsen the the condition in the or will lead the higher food prices, and I think this will be impacted, yeah, in the next couple of months, that the some foods, yeah, related to the imported foods, yeah, like I mentioned about soybean, maize, wheat, yeah, the food product, I think there's a chance to be raised by the producers.
Okay, right. Food prices will be going up. Fuel price. Welcome back. Well, we are still joined with Josua Pardede, the chief economist at Permata Bank, talking about inflation. Now, you project that Indonesia annual inflation could reach 3.5% in April, quite high. What can the Indonesian government do to kind of tame inflation in Indonesia in the next few months to come?
Yeah, actually, the government needs to optimize, yeah, the absorption in the PAN budget, yeah, particularly for the social protection, because as we already noted that the cooking oil prices will be the burden, yeah, for the low middle income people. So that's why the government plans to implement the additional staple food assistance, yeah, for the 20.5 million families, including also for the families who receive the bantuan pangan non tunai. So basically, I think that's the momentum, yeah, for the government to protect, yeah, low middle income people to face the current situation that the energy prices and also food prices have gone up significantly. And in addition to that, I think the government needs to again, basically, for the food security, for the food security itself, I think the government needs to increase the productivity of some domestic foods, yeah, and then the government also needs to maintain the price stability, yeah, in every market in Indonesia, in every region, because we are having the tim pengendalian inflasi nasional and also tim pengendalian inflasi daerah in order to maintain the price stability. So that's why I think the message is, because we cannot do much more, yeah, in order to mitigate the imported inflation. So that's why we are how do we explore, how do we increase the productions, products that can be produced domestically. I think that's the in order to maintain the purchasing power, yeah, because in addition to that, I think the government needs to still give some social assistance, not only for the 40% below people, but I think for the 50 to 60% below, I think they need to also some social assistance in order to protect their purchasing power in order to support the economic recovery this year.
Okay, so as you mentioned just now, still a lot of things that the Indonesian government can do, but it seems there's a lot of external factors at play here. So let's just see, but let's hope inflation does not go up any further. Let's hope Russia's invasion of Ukraine sees an end soon as well. Chief Economist of Permata Bank, Josua Pardede, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Krishna.